Hey, what's good everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. Hope y'all are doing well. Today we're just going to be breaking down this little sample I made not too long ago in the style of like Nami and Coop the Truth, but with a more like dark Travis Scott, Jack Boys kind of feel to it. This video was originally going to be a full beat breakdown because I did make a beat over this sample, but the full video ended up being like 30 minutes and I didn't want to make y'all sit through that. So I'm going to cut it into two parts, with the first part just being the sample. But yeah, super quick plug duality drum kit out now, 25% off with video 25. All right, so let's get into the sample first. We are here in FL. I got it at 122 BPM. As you can see, there are actually quite a few elements to this sample. I wanted to go for like a Nami, Coop the Truth kind of thing, but like in a darker Travis Scott direction. That was the like idea going into it. So the first sound is this Simply Moog preset in Analog Lab 5 from Naom's new Millennia Analog 5 bank. It sounds like this with no effects. Just a super simple plucky thing. And all I did for the chords was just a nice little F minor, C minor, or C sharp minor, sorry, then a C something. It's like a diminished or an augmented, I don't even know. It's just that, I don't know. But, so all I did was hit Alt R to randomize a few of the velocities, nothing too crazy. And without effects, that sounds like this. So kind of spooky, pretty like, well, pretty chords there and some nice shimmer on the plucks. But for effects, I went ahead and added a chorus, a Valhalla Room, Comeback Kid delay, sketch cassette with the dropouts brought up quite a bit, and some flutter and wow, an effect rack just with a phase mistress, a shaper box, and my shaper box isn't loading today for some reason, but it's basically just like a really tight sidechain like this put on quarter note, and then we have a nice little bandpass, and then a soothe, which also isn't loading for some reason today because my FL is fucked, but it's just the less mud on the master preset. So with all those effects, it sounds like this. So nice and old and vintage sounding. I also have this bandpass automating to open up just like that. And the way you can do that, so say you want it to start really tight like this, you'll just bring this curve of the pass down a bit, and then you'll go to Tools, Last Tweaked, Create Automation Clip, and then you can automate the position of that band. So I did that here, so it just opens up as it goes on. So that's pretty cool. And then I wanted an even older, like more screwed up version of those chords. So I grabbed this one shot from Loner's Ricochet one shot kit and I put it on stretch, which with no effects sounds like this. So it's just a nice pluck. And then I just copied in those same chords, but I hit Alt S to strum them a lot. And then I also came in and I held Alt and I just dragged some of these around a little bit just to make it really lazy sounding almost. And then with effects, it's gonna sound a lot darker because I added a halftime, just default RC20 on the VHS preset, a couple tweaks made, another shaper box on a quarter note sidechain, but it won't load again for some reason, and then just a high pass. So that's gonna sound like this. It's really old and messed up, and that RC20 adds a nice bit of like bit distortion on top of it. Then I wanted some more of those chords in there. So I went into the Mintra Foundry Mellotron Bank version 1 and I found this Phonics Harp preset, which sounds like this. Just like a nice harp slash plucky guitar sound with some reverb on it. And I just played the triads for these chords just on quarter notes. Super simple. And then on the last one, it adds a note. For effects on that, another halftime, same thing. Another high pass, an effect rack with a few effects. It's got a decapitator, an echo boy, a tremolator, and another echo boy. This is just a preset from Kill September's effect rack preset bank, which is pretty sick. Then we have a low high. I think this is probably just the default preset. and then kickstart, because this is when Shaperbox started not loading, so I had to go to kickstart. And this one's actually a half note side chain. So this sounds like this with those effects. And then all of the chords together so far. So super like old and messed up sounding. Next thing I added was this texture thing, which is from a Coup de Truth one-shot kit from the Intention kit, and it sounds like this with no effects. I just messed with the envelope a little bit, and then I just played the bass notes of the chords, and I put a little bit of a high pass, another sketch cassette, and this EQ. So it just fills up a little more space. Next thing I added was this bass one-shot from Kill September's Mercury 2 one-shot kit. I just played the bass notes of the chords with some like passing notes and some weird jumps here and there, and I wanted it to sound kind of analog and like somebody was actually playing it on a keyboard, so I messed with the velocities a little bit. For the effects, I just brought it a little bit into mono, and then I added a distorted bright tubes preset in RC20, this EQ just to boost some of the lows and cut some highs, and then another Shaperbox on the quarter note sidechain, which you can't see because it fucked up. But it sounds like this. All together so far. So that was a good bass for the sample, and then I knew that I wanted to have some perc loops in here. So the first one I started with was from Haga's Aga. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name, but Fire Kit. It's called Visionary. Got some good perc loops in there. I just stretched it to 8 bars, brought the pitch down an octave. Then I threw a bandpass narrow, a CLA 3A, and a stereo shaper on the shrink preset. And then as you can see, I also have a automation for the volume, and I just messed around with that while listening to the chords and the bass so that I knew where I wanted those little perc sounds to be. And I kind of just freehanded this, but I wanted it to have that kind of like pumping weird Nami Coup de Truth feel. So it pretty much just follows like how the chords play. So it just gives like a burst of sound, silence kind of thing. I don't know. Adds a pretty cool feel. And then I added one more perc loop from an Only One kit, stretched it to 8 bars, and I threw that same bandpass and CLA 3A on there, and I turned off the stereo shaper, and those together sound like this. So it's not too in your face, it just adds some nice texture in there. The next section I did was, I believe, plucks right here. And I started with a clean pluck from the Ricochet one-shot kit, once again by Loner. I just turned the out all the way up. Sounds like this clean. Very simple pluck. And then for effects, I threw a Camel Crusher on the Annihilate preset, and I just turned down the mix a little bit. Another Comeback Kid, another bandpass, stereo shaper on the Shrinked preset, and another quarter note sidechain in Shaperbox. I just played a really simple pattern that goes with the chords like this. Next thing I added was this pluck right here, which is the overdrive preset from that same Neum Analog 5 bank. The progression is kind of just like an arpeggiation of those chords. Without effects, it's going to sound like this. So really distorted and overdriven, as the name would suggest. Effects, bandpass, sidechain in Shaperbox, a panagement, which is automating the distance and the pan, so it kind of moves forward and back and side to side in the stereo space at the same time. And then just a TAL reverb. So that sounds like this with those effects. And then together with some chords and some perc loops. Then I wanted like really high slidey whistle element. So I went into Coup de Truth's Intention one-shot kit again, and I found this little thing. And I did this pattern just using some slide notes, which is why I use one-shots a lot, is because you can slide them. It's pretty cool. So it sounds pretty tinny and shitty like that, but the effects I added help that out quite a bit. Just a heavy reverb, comeback kid delay, a low-high on the default, and another quarter note pump through shaper box. So that makes it sound like this. In context. So it's kind of buried back in there, but it adds some ambience and some higher frequencies. Then I went ahead and I right-clicked over here in the pattern and I quick rendered as audio clip, and then I just reversed that sample and I have that playing in a couple places. And then I also have this pitch shifter that drops it an octave automated on for these reverse versions of it, just to add a little bit of low end to it. So those play a couple times and they just add some more texture. Then the final thing I added were some vocals. This first one is from the Neo Soul and Trap pack on Splice, and it sounds like this with no effects, which is pretty sick. I just pitched it to be in key and I stretched it to 8 bars. And then for the effects, nothing crazy here, just a little alter boy to add a little bit of drive, then a band pass, comeback kid delay, and then just a Fab Filter Pro Q3 to kill some of the spiking frequency. So that sounds like this. And in context. Next was this Cream Soda vocal loop from the 4am Vibe Splice kit. Sounds like this with no effects. So kind of harsh. It just goes through that a little bit. Effects on this one, I have a really tight band pass, pretty heavy reverb. So I actually used Shaperbox for this effect, but since it won't load, I'll show you in Tremolator. It's just a 1/8 pulse basically. And altogether it sounds like this. So that just adds some high texture in there. So altogether, that section of the sample sounds like this. And yeah, that's basically it. After I had all those elements, I just structured it out, and then I gave every element its own little section at the end so that the producers I send this to can like chop it up and make their own arrangement if they want to. From there, I went ahead and I selected all of the melodic elements and I put them in this one mixer track just by holding control, dragging across, and then right clicking down here, route to this track only. And then on here, I put a sound shifter and I pitched everything down by 2 semitones. Once it's pitched down, it'll sound like this. So even darker, even more vintage analog sounding, which I liked a lot. And then on my master, I just have a sketch cassette on these settings. Then I have a Soothe 2 on the Less Mud on the master preset, which won't load again, and I have it turned off because it'll blow up my CPU. And then I have a T-Rack soft clipper just to add some volume to it. And yeah, that's it. After that, I just exported all of this and then I sent it into a different project file for the drums. And I was gonna do that in this video, but I've been recording for like half an hour, so I think I might make that its own separate video. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for part 2 where I do the drums. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe on this video. Let me know what you want to see. Subscribe to both my main YouTube channels where I post my beats. I'll link those in the description. Follow me on Instagram at prodby_instinct. You can DM me there with any questions you got. You can go get my kits on my website, all 25% off with the code video25. Link to that will also be in the description. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace.